The town of Blackvale had a secret, one buried beneath the gnarled roots of the ancient oak in Whispering Hollow. The locals spoke of it in hushed tones, warning their children never to stray too far into the woods after sundown. The hollow listens, they'd say. And when it whispers back, you'd best not answer. No one knew when the first disappearance happened. Some claimed it was the Miller boy in 32. Others swore it was Old Man Hargrove's wife long before that. But one thing was certain. When the mist rolled in thick and the wind carried a voice that wasn't human, someone always vanished. And tonight, the hollow was hungry again. Mehfuj Chapter 1, The Last Letter. The envelope was damp, as if it had been left out in the fog too long. Detective Eleanor Graves turned it over in her hands, her stomach tightening at the familiar handwriting. Ellie, if you're reading this, I'm already gone. Don't come looking. It's not what you think. It's worse. Daniel. Her brother had been missing for 3 weeks. The police called it a hiker's accident. Blackvale's woods were treacherous after all. But Ellie knew better. Daniel wasn't the type to wander off. And he certainly wouldn't leave without a fight. The drive to Blackvale took 6 hours. By the time she reached the town limits, the sun had dipped below the trees, casting long skeletal shadows across the road. The air smelled of damp earth and something else, something rotting. The innkeeper, a gaunt woman with hollow eyes, handed her a key. "You're here about the disappearances, aren't you?" Ellie stiffened. "How did you—" Strangers only come to Blackvale for 2 things, the dead or the doomed. She leaned in, her breath sour. "Sleep with the lights on, detective. The hollow dreams." That night, Ellie woke to the sound of scratching at her door. Not knocking. Scratching. Like something dragging broken nails across the wood. And then, a whisper. "Ellie." Her blood turned to ice. It wasn't human. Chapter 2, The Thing in the Trees. The next morning, Ellie visited the sheriff's office. The man behind the desk, Sheriff Cobb, had the weary look of someone who'd stopped believing in answers long ago. "Your brother's case is closed," he said, not meeting her eyes. "No body but the woods. Well, they don't give back what they take." Ellie slammed Daniel's letter on the desk. Then explained, "This." Cobb's face paled. "Where did you—" A scream cut through the air. Outside, a crowd had gathered near the tree line. A farmer had found something alive. The thing in the dirt was barely recognizable as human. Its skin was stretched too tight, its mouth split in a grotesque grin. And its eyes, black, endless, wrong. It lunged at Ellie, its voice a guttural rasp. "He's waiting for you, in the hollow." Then it burst. A wet, cracking sound collapsing into a pile of writhing insects. The townsfolk scattered, but Ellie stood frozen, because she knew that voice. Chapter 3, The Mark of the Hollow. Ellie stumbled back, her boots slipping in the wet remains of the thing that had spoken in her brother's voice. The townsfolk had fled, leaving her alone with Sheriff Cobb, whose face had gone ashen. "You see now," he muttered. "This is why we don't go looking." Ellie grabbed his arm. "What the hell was that?" Cobb exhaled sharply. "Not here." He led her to his office, locking the door behind them. From a rusted filing cabinet, he pulled out a folder marked, "Hollow Cases Do Not Open." Inside were photographs, decades of missing persons, all linked to Blackvale. And in each picture, carved into the trees or scratched into the dirt, was the same symbol. A twisted spiral, like a throat choking on thorns. "The hollow takes people," Cobb said, "but sometimes it sends something back." Ellie's hands shook as she flipped through the files. Then she froze. There, in a photo from 1987, was the same spiral, etched into the door of her childhood home. "Daniel knew," she whispered. Cobb's voice dropped. "He went into the woods, didn't he?" Before she could answer, the lights flickered, and outside, the whispering began. Chapter 4, The First Victim. Ellie needed answers. The only person left who might have them was old Maud, a recluse who lived at the edge of the woods. Maud's cabin smelled of dried herbs and rotting meat. The old woman sat in a rocking chair, her milky eyes fixed on Ellie. "You're his sister," she croaked. "I felt you coming." Ellie held out Daniel's letter. What did he find? Maud's grin revealed blackened teeth. The truth. The hollow isn't just a place. It's alive, and it remembers everyone who ever stepped inside. She pulled up her sleeve. Her arm was covered in spirals, burned into her flesh. I was the first it took, she say it was Daniel's. Your brother won't. Ellie's pulse pounded. How do I find him? Maud's voice dropped to a whisper. Follow the whispers. But when you see the door, don't open it. That night, Ellie dreamed of a tree with a mouth and it was screaming. Chapter 5, The Door in the Woods. Armed with a flashlight and a knife, Ellie entered the woods at dawn. The deeper she went, the colder it got. The trees here grew in unnatural spirals, their bark peeling like dead skin. Then she heard it. A voice. Ellie, help me. Daniel. She ran, branches clawing at her until she reached a clearing. At its center stood a door, not attached to anything, just a door, old and splintered, standing upright in the dirt. And from beneath it, black tendrils slithered. Ellie, I'm here. Her brother's voice, but wrong, like something mimicking him. She reached for the handle. Then she remembered Maud's warning. Don't open it. But the whispers grew louder, filling her skull. Let me out. Her fingers brushed the wood, and the door screamed. Chapter 6, What Came Out. The moment Ellie touched the door, the ground split. Something surged from the earth, a mass of writhing shadows forming into a shape too tall, too thin, its limbs bending in impossible ways. Its face was a void, except for the mouth. A jagged, dripping slit stretching ear to ear, and then it spoke. You should have listened. Ellie ran. Behind her, the trees twisted, reaching for her. The whispers became a chorus, howling in languages that didn't exist. She didn't stop until she collapsed at Maud's cabin. The old woman was waiting. You opened it, she said, her voice hollow. Ellie gasped. What was that? Maud's eyes filled with black tears, the thing that wears the dead. Outside, the wind carried a new sound. Laughter. Chapter 7, The Last Whisper. The town was empty. No cars, no lights. Just the doors now standing in the middle of the street, and this time it was open. Inside was darkness, and something moving. Ellie's phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number, a photo. Daniel, his mouth sewn shut, his eyes gouged out. The caption, Come home, Ellie. The whispers rose to a roar, and then a hand grabbed her shoulder. She turned and screamed. Epilogue. They found Ellie's car abandoned at the edge of Blackvale. Her journal was inside, its last entry smeared in something dark and sticky. It's not a place, it's a thing, and it's learning our names. The hollow was silent after that. But if you listen closely on still nights, you might hear a new voice among the whispers. Ellie.